not the greatest singer or dancer, but that doesn't interest me. I'm interested in being provocative and pushing people's buttons. Madonna. For years, behavioral specialists have studied the Queen of Pop and have categorized her as one of the most influential artists in all of pop culture history. The impact of her work has transcended past the music industry and has spread over into different fields throughout the decades. Her drive to break boundaries is not confined to her work. She's passionate about women's rights and the assertion of them through gender equality. She is known for standing in solidarity against ageism and religious norms. She supports the fight against HIV and AIDS, as well as the eradication of discrimination to those suffering from these conditions.
What happens when we educate girls? They have the ability to defend themselves, support their families, take care of their health, and be an integral, productive part of the human race.
Her activism for the rights of LGBT communities and the dissemination of messages in favor of peace and harmony between people of different beliefs and creeds have made Madonna an icon with many attributes. Attributes that have influenced far beyond music, fashion, film, and literature. The Queen of Pop is more than just a singer, dancer, and actress. She's a philanthropist, a composer, a musician, a film director, producer, and writer. She's also dabbled in the business world and has been the face of many brands. Her chameleon-like nature has allowed her to combine creativity with the controversy that follows her public life. She's used scandal to emphasize her blunt opposition to societal norms and traditional values. Over the last 4 decades, she has mesmerized audiences all over the world. We take a closer look at the material girl, uncovering her blonde ambition and understanding why she is known as the Queen of Pop. Since the beginning, Madonna had a clear vision of what she wanted to do: rule the world. She boldly made that statement when she appeared on Dick Clark's show in 1984. Not long after that, the material girl accomplished what she had set out to do. Madonna appeared onto the music scene in a time when men were the ones running the show, but she came in at full force and stirred up the entire industry. At the time, names like Michael Jackson, Prince, Bruce Springsteen, George Michael, Lionel Richie, Boy George.
I'm one of those people, I'm kind of fascinated by Madonna. I always have been. She fascinates me.
Male-fronted bands like Duran Duran, Yes, Toto, The Cars, The Cure, Journey, Van Halen, and U2 were the ones making waves on the radio. Their paths had been paved by acts like Queen, The Police, David Bowie, and Elton John, among many others. These all-male acts had no other option than to stop and notice the small blonde that was breaking down walls with her moves and talent. Not everyone felt this way, though. Some said she wasn't attractive and that her voice didn't stand out in any special way. Others criticized her dancing, claiming she wasn't even that good. That didn't hold her back. Her drive, energy, and determination made her stand out then and keeps her at the top of her game now. Madonna's emergence came almost as a response to the conservative societies represented by Reagan's administration in the U.S. and Margaret Thatcher in the U.K. Her impact and influence in pop culture seem to have enveloped the desire to transform the world through art. Adored by many and rejected by others, regardless of where you stand in the spectrum, no one can deny that millions around the globe, in one way or another, went crazy for Madonna. Madonna Louise Veronica Chacon was born in Bay City, Michigan on August 16, 1958. Her childhood years were lived in Pontiac and Rochester Hills, different suburbs in Detroit. When the star first came onto the scene, many believed that Madonna was her stage name since it translates to virgin in Italian. However, Madonna was named after her mother, Madonna Louise XIV. When it was time for her Catholic confirmation, she chose the name Veronica. Its meaning, true image, and the biblical character of the same name resonated with her. She found the story romantic. Her father was of Italian origin, and her mother was of French-Canadian descent. She worked as an X-ray technician, and he worked as an automotive engineer, precisely why they lived where the industry was based in the U.S. Her parents' faith determined much of her childhood. Her mother was very religious, and priests and nuns were always welcomed in their home. This early exposure to religion can be seen later in her career within the elements of Catholicism that were present. Saints, virgins, crucifixes, altars, candles, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, sin, death, and resurrection. Madonna took this influence and incorporated it into her first works. It's a theme that continues to be present in her work today. It has since evolved from guilt or sin to freedom, love, forgiveness, and union. Madonna's mother died from breast cancer when she was just 5 years old. The loss affected not only her adolescence, but the rest of her life. Seeing her mother's fragility in her last days created in Madonna a desire to be heard. In interviews, Madonna has said that lacking a mother figure in her life affected her mannerisms. She was never taught rules and regulations, which inadvertently made her rebellious and allowed her the freedom to be herself.
There are still aspects of me that I've remained since I was 12 years old.
The teenager opposed societal norms, and one of her ways of doing so was by altering traditional vestments and turning them into creative and revealing designs. She was full of energy, dancing, doing cartwheels, and jumping all over the place. When it came to her early creative influences, she said that singers like Debbie Harry from Blondie, Chrissie Hynde of The Pretenders, Aretha Franklin, Nina Simone, as well as poets Maya Angelou and James Baldwin were sources of massive inspiration for her. Madonna was rebellious, but at the same time a perfectionist, and she wanted to succeed. She knew she had to work hard. Her grades were exceptional, and she graduated one semester ahead of her classmates. After graduating from high school, she was awarded a scholarship to the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Her mentor and professor, Christopher Flynn, guided her through her first steps as a dancer. While studying in Michigan, Madonna was awarded a 6-week scholarship to study with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in New York. She later had the opportunity to continue learning with choreographer Pearl Lang at her dance academy in New York City. Michigan proved to be too small for her, and after 2 years in college, she dropped out and went on a more independent path. With only $35 to her name and just about to turn 20 years old, Madonna set off to New York City to start a new life. We'll be right back with more of Crazy for Madonna. She settled into her new city and officially began studying dance. As her academic career advanced, her weight deteriorated. A former manager of the emblematic restaurant The Russian Tea Room believed the only meals Madonna was having were those served at the restaurant. To pay for her expenses, Madonna would pose nude for art students and as a model for photography students. One of these gigs was the erotic film A Certain Sacrifice by Stephen John Lewicki. She was paid only $100 for her work on the film. At the time of filming, Madonna signed a contract which later prevented her from keeping the film from being screened. With her toes already dipped in film, she set out to explore other areas and started playing drums and singing with a band called The Breakfast Club, a pop-punk group she formed with the Gilroy brothers. Dan, one of the brothers, was her boyfriend at the time. Dan introduced Madonna to a Paris-based entertainment entrepreneur who was looking for new talent in New York. He hired Madonna. Under his guidance, she spent some time in France working as a showgirl. That trip to Europe opened her eyes. She understood that singing, dancing, and acting all complemented each other and did not cancel out one another. In 1980, she returned to the United States and joined the band once again as a drummer and lead singer. Having already caught the music bug, she formed different musical groups where she was always the lead: Madonna and the Sky, and the Millionaires and Emmy, the nickname she was known by at the time. In 1981, Madonna decided to go solo and hired Camille Barbone from Gotham Records to help her with her career. They hired the talented musician Stephen Bray, who wrote the song Everybody. Madonna brought the song to Mark Kammins, a music producer, who helped her land a contract with Seymour Stein of Sire Records and made Everybody the #1 hit on the dance music charts in 1982. The song was such a success that Madonna managed to get them to produce an entire album which was titled Madonna in 1983. The album included hit songs like Borderline, Lucky Star, and Holiday. With a hit record already at the top of the charts, a new look soon followed. Maripol was the mind behind Madonna's image. The trends they introduced together spread across the United States and the rest of the world like wildfire. Her signature style, which included fishnet stockings, lace lingerie, large hats, bows, gloves without tips, long pearl necklaces, crucifixes, and very dark eyebrows. Her sophomore album, Like a Virgin, was released in 1984. The album reached #1 on the Billboard charts and went platinum within a month. Produced by Nile Rodgers, it has been considered Madonna's biggest pop hit yet, remaining at the top of the charts for 6 weeks. Material Girl and Angel were huge hits off that record. But the album did have its critics. The Catholic Church in the United States saw the song and music video for Like a Virgin as an attack on Christian values. When she performed at the MTV Video Music Awards that year, she appeared dressed as a bride on a giant wedding cake and wearing a belt with the phrase "boy toy" on it. She sloshed around on stage, moving provocatively, shocking everyone. In today's day and age, this could be viewed as normal, but in the 80s, Madonna was breaking all the rules and marking a new sexual revolution. In her earlier years, Madonna had flirted with acting, but in 1985 she stepped out and acted professionally in the film Desperately Seeking Susan, starring Rosanna Arquette and directed by Susan Seidelman. She also performed the film's theme song, Into the Groove, which got an entire generation dancing. Her next single, the ballad Crazy for You, hit the top of the charts. It was the theme song for the 1985 film Vision Quest. 1985 proved to be a busy year for Madonna. She headlined her first tour, the Virgin Tour. The Queen of Pop had several of her songs at the top of the Billboard charts and was simultaneously all over television screens. Her music video for Like a Virgin became synonymous with the 80s.
And I'm gonna say to an Italian chick from Michigan, will you?
I want to say, Sean, that I love you from the moment that I laid eyes on you. And I still love you.
Like a Virgin was not Madonna's only emblematic music video. Her music video for Material Girl, inspired by the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes starring Marilyn Monroe, was just as iconic for her as it was for her fans. While recording the music video, she met the actor Sean Penn, the man she claims has been the love of her life. They tied the knot on August 16, 1985, her 27th birthday. It wasn't long before the couple worked together. They starred in the film Shanghai Surprise together in 1986. But it wasn't always a smooth ride. Their marriage was surrounded by rumors of domestic abuse and even an attack by the actor on a paparazzi who attempted to take pictures of them without permission. This led to Penn's incarceration. In 1986, like any true artist, Madonna expressed herself through her art. She released the album True Blue. In 1987, she released the upbeat album You Can Dance and starred in the film Who's That Girl? The couple divorced in 1989. Without losing a beat, she kept the momentum going, and in 1989, she starred in the film Bloodhounds of Broadway. She also dropped another smash hit, Like a Prayer. In true Madonna fashion, it broke record sales and was accompanied with a controversial video that highlighted racism and interracial relationships in a syncretic mix of religion, ethnic struggle, and passion. This video caused waves all over the world, including the Vatican. Pope John Paul II urged Catholic followers to not attend any of Madonna's concerts in Italy. The church continued to be offended by Madonna's behavior. The theme and video for Papa Don't Preach provoked countless reactions for and against the right to abortion. The images of the Pope that were projected at her concerts with the message safe sex when the church firmly opposed premarital sex created a public strife between the musician and the church. Just like the single, the album Like a Prayer hit the top of the charts. 2 songs off the record were massive hits and set the tone for the age. Fight Club director David Fincher directed the music video for Express Yourself. Cherish, another single off the album, was directed by Herb Ritz. We'll be right back with more of Crazy for Madonna. A lot of people are afraid to say what they want. That's why they don't get what they want. By 1991, Madonna had already reached the top of the charts in the United States 21 times and had sold over 70 million albums worldwide. The star continued to shock audiences, this time with the documentary Truth or Dare, which was released in 1991. The documentary was centered around the Blonde Ambition tour and showed an almost maternal relationship between her and her dancers. It also revealed the spirituality that seemed to surround her concerts, but at the same time revealed a boldness that did not appeal to reactionary sectors. On this tour, her wardrobe evolved to visible lingerie with a cone-shaped bustier designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier. It was inspired by the corsets of the 1950s, and over time, she incorporated these designs onto her male dancers' wardrobes. She defended the fluidity of the genders and wanted to break society's norms for fashion. The Queen of Pop has transcended fashion. She starred in a number of music videos and performed in creations by high-end designers like Dolce & Gabbana, Galliano, Versace, Givenchy, Miu Miu, Prada, Stella McCartney, Gucci, Moschino, Swarovski, among many others. In 1990, she starred in the film Dick Tracy. Warren Beatty starred and directed the film. The two shared an intense romance at the time. She once again combined her love for music and her love for film with I'm Breathless, an album with music from and inspired by the film. The album carried the song Sooner or Later and Vogue, which later became a phenomenon on its own. The Vogue music video resulted in a style of dance in the 1980s that evolved from the Harlem ballrooms of the 1960s. In the music video, Madonna pays tribute to prominent figures from film's golden age. Greta Garbo, Marilyn Monroe, Marlene Dietrich, Marlon Brando, James Dean, Grace Kelly, Jean Harlow, Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Rita Hayworth, Lauren Bacall, Katharine Hepburn, Lana Turner, and Betty Davis. But in 1990, the voguing paused. Madonna had crossed another line. MTV stopped broadcasting the video for Justify My Love. The song, which was written by Lenny Kravitz, had a controversial music video. MTV claimed that the sadomasochism scenes were explicit and they didn't want to offend their young audiences. The video, which was directed by photographer Jean-Baptiste Mondino, was shot in Paris. In 1992, Madonna found herself branching out yet again, this time with her own record label, Maverick Records, which was a label under Warner Music. She released the album Erotica that same year and also starred in Penny Marshall's film A League of Their Own, a film about a World War II-era women's baseball team. Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, and Rosie O'Donnell also starred in the film. She even took part in the movie soundtrack with the song This Used to Be My Playground, which reached the top of the charts. That same year, she rocked the world by publishing Sex, a coffee table book with photography by Stephen Meisel. The book sold 150,000 copies in the U.S. on its release day, and 3 days later, 1.5 million copies of the first edition had been sold. Sex was a manifesto that exposed women's sexuality as something natural and tried to remove taboos and prejudices from the subject. Madonna made sex the trademark of her next tour, the Girly Show Tour. She became a dominatrix with the audience in the palm of her hand. By the end of 1993, she had reached a double platinum status and had shocked the world with the film Body of Evidence with Willem Dafoe, exploring new layers of sexuality and suspense. In 1994, she switched gears and released Bedtime Stories, an album focused on love and romance. The album included Take a Bow, a ballad. The song's video was shot in Ronda, Spain, and immersed Madonna in Spanish culture. The impact Spanish culture had on the material girl was seen again in 1995 with her release of the compilation album Something to Remember, which included the song You'll See. Madonna recorded a Spanish version of the song, which was titled Veras. Both versions of the music video were directed by Michael Hausman. Throughout this period, Madonna was influenced by Spain, especially the erotic metaphors found in bullfighting, flamenco, and tail gowns, which had already been present in La Isla Bonita, and which she took up again during the 2015 Grammys. Madonna's fascination with Spanish culture wasn't new. Her interest had sparked earlier on through Pedro Almodóvar's films. It was also ignited by her infatuation with Spanish actor Antonio Banderas, who would be her co-star in the future. In 1996, Madonna received praise from critics for her interpretation of Eva Perón in the film Evita, an adaptation for the big screen of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical. The film was directed by Alan Parker, along with Banderas, who played the character of Che, a kind of narrator of Argentina's most famous First Lady. She won a Golden Globe for Best Female Performance in a Musical or Comedy.
I can only keep my fingers crossed.
Madonna performed the song You Must Love Me, which was part of the film's soundtrack and won the Academy Award for Best Original Song in 1997. In 1996, she gave birth to her first child, Lourdes Maria Chacon Leon, with Carlos Leon, her personal trainer and partner at the time. Lourdes was named in honor to her maternal grandmother, who was a devoted Catholic and worshipped Our Lady of Lourdes. Madonna's mother always dreamt of visiting Lourdes, France, where the image of the saint appeared, but never got the chance. We'll be back with more of Crazy for Madonna. "1998 marked Madonna's most spiritual season. She began studying Kabbalah, looking for the answers she could not find in Catholicism. This incited criticism from conservative rabbis. Around this time, her songs Ray of Light and Frozen were released. The music video for Frozen was directed by Chris Cunningham in the Mojave Desert, where Madonna appeared with long black hair and henna tattoos on her body.
I'm more interested in inspiring people than shocking people, and I think there have been some interesting performances.
Big-name directors collaborated with Madonna, as in the case of the song The Power of Goodbye, where she worked with director Matthew Rolston and co-starred with Goran Visnik. In 2000, just as her album Music was being released, she had her second child, Rocco Ritchie. He was born on August 11, 2000. Rocco is the star's son with the English film director Guy Ritchie. The couple had met through Sting and married at the end of 2000.
It's good to know the person you're marrying, so spend lots of time getting to know them before you get to marry them.
That same year, she starred in the film The Next Best Thing with actor Rupert Everett, who remains one of her best friends to this day.
I love the idea that I could play a vulnerable character, an ordinary person, and I love the idea that I could work with Rupert.
Madonna continued to work with music producer William Orbit, who had produced her album Ray of Light. Her new project had several tracks that paid tribute to the psychedelic style of the 1960s. As it was seen in her song Beautiful Stranger, which was part of the Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me movie soundtrack. In 2002, Madonna starred in the film Swept Away. The film was directed by her then-husband, Guy Ritchie. The film slumped at the box office, but that didn't keep her away from the camera for too long. That same year, she took a small role in Die Another Day, a film off the James Bond saga starring Pierce Brosnan and Halle Berry. She also starred in the play Up for Grabs, which told a story of corruption in the art world, a world she was familiar and friendly with. The star shared great friendships with artists like Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, and Tracy Emin.
The problem with the English roses was that they were all a little bit jealous of a little girl in the neighborhood.
Venturing out led her to writing, this time children's books. In 2003, she published the book The English Roses, and that same year she released American Life, her 9th studio album and her least sold album to date. A few days before the release of the first single, she withdrew the American Life music video due to its warlike content and criticism of President George W. Bush's administration, which at that time had decided to invade Iraq and go to war. The cowboy style she wore at the time did not convince the critics or the public, but the kisses she shared with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera at that year's MTV Music Awards shocked many and annoyed others. Although the reactions were mixed, one thing was certain: it would be the only thing people would be talking about. Following the epic kiss, she dropped the album Remixed and Revisited, in which she had collaborations with Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Missy Elliott. 2003 also included the release of 2 more children's books, Mr. Peabody's Apples and Yakov and the Seven Thieves.
And we've come to read you my new book, and it's called Yakov and the Seven Thieves. But there's just one little problem, and that is that I have a lot of concerts I have to do, so my throat is a bit sore, and I'm supposed to actually not be talking very much because I have a concert tomorrow. So Lola has volunteered to read the story to you.
Madonna was inducted into the UK Music Hall of Fame in 2004, and her album, Confessions on a Dance Floor, was released the following year. In 2005, she conquered the world with a pink leotard in her music video for Hung Up. The song, which was part of her album Confessions on a Dance Floor, had an introduction that consisted of a sample of ABBA's famous hit, Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. The song was #1 in 45 countries and entered the Guinness Book of World Records for being the oldest artist to simultaneously top the UK singles and album charts. During the 2006 tour, she raised even more controversy by crucifying herself on stage as she performed Live to Tell, and behind her, screens reflected the number of orphans in Africa who were affected by HIV and living in poverty. The Vatican said the artist should be excommunicated. 2 years later, on her album Hard Candy, she collaborated with Justin Timberlake, Timbaland, Pharrell Williams, and Nate Danja Hills. In January of that year, she was named the richest woman in the music industry by Forbes magazine, with estimated profits of more than $70 million between June 2006 and June 2007. With no signs of slowing down, Madonna wrote and executively produced I Am Because We Are, a documentary about Malawi's AIDS orphans.
Well, I want people to be shocked when they watch it. I want people to be moved, outraged, and at the end, I want people to feel a sense of responsibility and also a sense of hope.
That same year, on the Billboard's list of the greatest artists of all time, Madonna ranked second behind the Beatles and was the most successful soloist in the history of music. In 2008, she was also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She launched her Sticky and Sweet tour that year and divorced Guy Ritchie in November of that year due to irreconcilable differences. Stability in love has always been something elusive to Madonna, who, aside from her marriages to Sean Penn and Guy Ritchie and her relationship with Carlos Leon, father of her daughter Lola, had held numerous romances. Some of her most well-known romances have been with artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, basketball player Dennis Rodman, singer Vanilla Ice, rapper Tupac Shakur, Brazilian model Jesus Luz, and with the so-called heir to American royalty, John Kennedy Jr., a relationship that was strongly opposed by his mother, Jackie O. At the age of 50, Madonna went through a difficult time in her private life. She struggled with allegations of illegal acts in Malawi concerning the adoption of her son, David Banda. She was accused of using her fortune to expedite the legal procedures of that country, which did not approve international adoptions. This led to the threat of losing custody of her son.
It was a tough time for me, I won't lie, because just the whole adoption period, going through the bureaucracy of it and everything was exhausting. And then, to have to go there and see the palpable suffering of the children and to feel like you were doing something good, and then to come home to everyone screaming and outraged and accusing you of kidnapping. And
Madonna won the battle and returned to Malawi in 2009 after another lawsuit, this time against her daughter Mercy James. She founded the Raising Malawi Association to raise funds to fight the AIDS virus that affects children in that country in massive quantities.
I mean, now everybody knows about Malawi, so there was some good that came out of it.
In 2009, her third greatest hits album, Celebration, reached the top sales in the UK. The only other American artist who had achieved that was the King of Rock, Elvis Presley, who died on the same date as Madonna's birthday in 1977. In 2011, Madonna presented her film W.E. about Wallis Simpson's divorce after her affair with King Edward VIII. Madonna directed the drama, which she co-wrote with the Lebanese director Alec Kassessian, the director of her 1991 documentary Truth or Dare.
It was fantastic. She was so passionate and she was so prepared, and we had wonderful moments of joy and giggles, and we got an awful lot of hard work done.
She was on the set early and she was there at the end. She works like crazy to try and make this happen. It was wonderful.
In 2012, she performed the Super Bowl halftime show with LMFAO, CeeLo Green, Nicki Minaj, and MIA, and took the opportunity to present her latest album, MDNA, with a spectacular performance of Give Me All Your Lovin'. In March 2012, she released her album MDNA, one of the most unique titles of her entire career, as it plays with the words Madonna, the English name for the designer drug MDMA, also known as ecstasy. In a move exclusively made for the Japanese market, she launched the cosmetics line MDNA Skin. It was said that it held her key to eternal youth. That is, in addition to a healthy and balanced diet, yoga, plenty of exercise, spirituality, a sense of humor, minimal alcohol consumption, and zero tolerance for drug use. We'll be back with a lot more of Crazy for Madonna. One thing I've learned is that I'm not the owner of my talent. I'm the manager of it. Madonna spent 2014 working on her new album, alongside producers Avicii and Diplo. In December, several songs off the production were leaked on the internet. Madonna decided to put the rest of the songs online and reached the top spot of the charts on iTunes. In a move to promote her album Rebel Heart, she launched a campaign with images of civil rights leaders Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. The images were photoshopped onto her Rebel Heart album artwork and caused outrage among the masses. Madonna performed Living for Love, a song off that album, at the 2015 Grammy Awards, and 2 weeks later at the Brit Awards, where she had an accident on stage. Fortunately, she came out unscathed. In 2015, the official version of Rebel Heart was released with 19 tracks. It was an album that brought a new transformation and evolution to Madonna. It headed towards a more refined style, taking up sexual and social issues, calling attention to prejudices that continue to control the world, and to more melancholic issues that lead to reflection. The song Bitch I'm Madonna with Nicki Minaj was a mega hit alongside the video featuring Miley Cyrus, Beyonce, Katy Perry, Kanye West, Rita Ora, Chris Rock, John Cortajarena, and Alexander Wang. Once again, it was evident to see that Madonna recharges herself as she collaborates with fresh young talent.
She's amazing, and she is, someone I aspire to be like, because, in the midst of all kinds of people unraveling, and in the pop world, and in the female pop world especially, that woman has stayed so consistent.
She won the Woman of the Year award at the 2016 Billboards. While accepting the award, Madonna touched many sensitive issues, like her drive to remain in the entertainment industry despite all the odds against her, how she's overcome the stigma associated with aging in the industry, and how many times men haven't been the ones opposing female sexuality, but other women. More recently, at the 2018 Met Gala, she wore a black Gothic dress by Jean-Paul Gaultier with a large transparent lace cross on her chest, gauze sleeves, a crown of crucifixes, a net veil, many necklaces, and a bouquet of black roses. The natural evolution of that young woman who sang Like a Virgin and Like a Prayer was to become a modern-day Isabella the Catholic, who was also known for breaking the rules. Madonna continued to crucify herself on stage while simultaneously challenging the church with provocative routines. Her choreographies included dancers dressed as half-naked priests and nuns in miniskirts, dancing to the beat of a remastered version of Like a Prayer. Her performances riveted audiences as these dancers performed on vertical beds and touched themselves in sexual ways, including dancers of the same gender. In February 2017, Madonna announced that she had adopted twins, Esther and Stell, also from Malawi, turning her family of 4 into a party of 6. Madonna has always combined transgression with her need to be a mother and to have a conventional home with strict rules. She has stated on several occasions that she does not allow her children to watch television and that she is rigorous about them keeping their rooms tidy. In 2018, 10 years since her directorial debut of Filth and Wisdom and W.E., Madonna announced that she would direct Taking Flight, a film based on the childhood memories of ballet dancer Michaela de Prince, who grew up orphaned in Sierra Leone and escaped poverty through dancing. Madonna said that Michaela's experience resonated with her as an artist and activist who understands adversity. She also believes that the film is another way to bring awareness of Africa's children in poverty. Madonna has always used her platform to call attention to the issues that move her, from scandalizing, demystifying religious elements, promoting spirituality beyond religion, and marking her position on different issues through languages that go from the simplest to the most complicated semantic and semological codes. On many occasions, this has had the opposite effect and has incited criticism from different sectors. Currently, the artist, who has lived in New York and London, lives at the Quinta del Reloj in Sintra, Lisbon, Portugal, where she moved with her children after David Banda, the oldest of her adoptive children, was signed by the youth team Futebol Sport Lisboa and Benfica in the U12 category. From there, the Queen of Pop continues to reign at the top of the world, creating such an impact on her fans and the media that it looks very difficult for her to be dethroned. Madonna has built a long, stable, and fruitful career to which she has not stopped contributing to for decades. Her influence on feminism, the LGBT community, and sex without taboos transcends the body of her artistic creation and permeates countless fields of today's society. Madonna's long artistic career has gone hand in hand with the defense of women's equality to stand equally to men, as well as the struggle to break down prejudices about sexuality and freedom in any sense. For 40 years, she has been under the spotlight, sold millions of albums worldwide, founded her own record label, starred in films, written books that have broken sales records, inspired fashion and set trends, advocated for the defense of the most transgressive issues, promoted international debates on topics such as interracial adoption, and has influenced the lives of millions of women in one way or another. The star doesn't go unnoticed, whether the audiences are for or against her artistic, political, or social stances. Even today, she keeps millions of fans crazy for Madonna.